Everyone knows Flow. Yeah. Number one women's health app in the world, so I'd like you to think so. So I'm Harry. I've been working at Flow for about a year and a half now. So I'm on what's called the payments team. We used to be called the sets team, subscription experience, but maybe let's change the name. I'm glad to see some laughs. I know there's an Android engineer turn there. Okay. So yeah, as I said, we're the number one women's health app. Commercial and health teams. We work together, we make new features. We've got monetization here, so if you ever get people on Flow, here's your issue. And some good news, we are hiring. So time to get your phones there, give me a scan. No one wants to come on it. Or look, 83 million monthly users. It's a good place to work. 1 in 3 women under 45 use Flow in the US, which always blows my mind. Like crazy statistic. Oh, so on to my talk. So I really didn't know what to call this presentation. I was going to call it software engineering is dead, and I thought it would be an Emery, but is this keep cutting off? Shall I switch on that? In the end, I went to something that was like really close to, I think, some of the issues we have at Flow and moving forward. So it's called the Living Spec, and it's how I think in the future we should be building software at scale. So this might not be so true for like your personal project if you're just going to vibe code something, but in general, like how to think about the issues you have as a company and how you think you can solve them. So we made code cheap, and we did not make understanding cheap. I think we've all used some cheap Chinese models, the price keeps going down, the quality keeps going up, but we keep getting more expensive, which managers don't really like. So all this is doing is creating an issue where we can just write code. Code really is not the bottleneck anymore. I think we know this. And when you're vibe coding, or maybe when you're working, you hit run, and you're like, wow, how have I just one-shotted an entire website or an app? And you're probably blown away at how well it did it. But then as you kind of build up features and people are questioning what you're doing, you might not really understand what you shipped. And this can be a really big issue. I know I do it all the time, especially when it's your own project. You kind of forget to read the code. Maybe this is an issue. So a big thing here, this is kind of how I was working. So you've got a prompt you throw away, maybe you make a .md file that you just go chuck in the bin. There's something that happens in the surface but you don't really know what the LLM was trying to execute. And then you say, it's a tomorrow view. If I scale or I get big enough, then I promise I'll solve it. You tell your PM, it just becomes tech debt. It's not really the case. So, this is the book I read at university. So I've been an iOS engineer now, as of a few days ago, for 9 years, which makes me feel really old. So, this book is really cool. Specification by example. Goshko Adzik, I'm not really sure how you say his name. So he did a follow-up survey 20 years later. The book is basically that Spec should be the backbone of companies. It's how it should work, everyone can follow it, human readable. And what you end up with is the people who are writing the code or working with any of the specs become a lot happier. A big issue with Flow is people are kind of unhappy with our level of documentation. I don't know if many people here think that your code base is well documented. It's normally no, especially when you start a new company. And then what happened is we ended up all using Jira, which probably a mixed bag of people enjoying Jira. Hey, it's great, it works, but what you have is Jira is a source of truth. And the way I think we need to move is to versions of those truth. So having Git as this is what happened, this is why we changed it, and it's the backbone. And it should be easier for an LLM to consume when we have this traceable Git blamed version instead of having to go through Jira, or you might change to linear halfway through the year, and you kind of lose a lot of the historical changes of what happened there. So, big issue with agents now, they churn out code, people aren't reading it, all we're doing is creating faster debt. I'm sure people will argue we have a really good agents file, skills file, it's building code exactly how we plan as a company to build code. Has anyone here actually shipped the pull request and not read the code recently? There we go, some honest people at the back. Good work. So this is a really interesting thing I found on Twitter the other day. People love chucking context windows and thinking all my problems will be solved. I'll give it a million context window and it'll reason with it. All that actually happens is the models get worse at reasoning. So you can see here, ChatGPT did a really good fix between 5.5 and 5.4 in this, but the issue still exists. And I'm sure whatever model you use, you'll find the same problem. So I'm really stupid. I'll always build software myself instead of paying $10 a month for someone else to build it, because I'll spend 100 on tokens and think it's built exactly how I want. So I built an app called Precept, and the core of it was the memory of everything I do should be tracked. I don't know if anyone's seen Entire IO, which is built by the new GitHub CEO, the old GitHub CEO. But he built this whole idea of everyone's prompt should be committed in Git, everything should be trackable, everything should be able to be searched by an LLM and shared across the company. The big thing is now, the company brain is the next big $1 trillion idea almost, when you can take the 400 repositories that Flow has and try and cram them in, reason with them all. That's the big issue to solve. So that's what I set out to do. Probably doesn't work. So this is the backbone of what I think Spec should look like. So I looked at OpenSpec, I looked at AWS Hero. AWS Hero, I think, break this down pretty nicely. You have a design spec, all sorts of things like this. I want one spec, and I don't want it to be disposed of. So when you build a plan file, I don't think you should chuck it away. I think there's value in that plan file and you should iterate it on as a team. So, a really big and annoying thing was memory. I keep talking to ChatGPT or Claude, and they'll share the memory once when you first set them up, but they don't share it across each other as you grow once you set it up for such. So what I have built into my software is it will distill its own knowledge. It actually uses private cloud compute to look into what did I do, what did I execute, and what should I remember. Private cloud compute is great if none of you have got it. So I use something called code-based memory MCP, and this basically takes your code base or code bases and it turns it into like a queryable graph. I'll show you a demo later. You probably see all the sparkly graph diagrams that people have of their code bases that don't serve much purpose. But under the surface, what this allows me to do, instead of having the LLM perform a graph, it can locally search my graph database that exists. And so the project was 387,000 tokens when I first wrote this, and it manages to pull the relevant files into a 6,000 for the whole project. And I'll explain how to do that after. So this is how the spec should live. So someone that Flow is looking into how we can build work once for the backend, Android, iOS. And the big issue of this is you have to create a spec that will live across them and go through. So this is kind of the boring workflow that it goes through, and you see it in evals, which is the proof. So you build the spec first, you give AI the idea that you want to build, that then hands it off almost as hopefully the next slide will go into this. Into like a PM. A PM might be saying, we need to do this. They say to the EM, this is how maybe functionally we can achieve it. What I think is there should be enough context in the code base that this should be solved across the surface and it should know how to scale it. So this is how I think the handoff is going to become. PMs, EMs, engineers will alter the specs that are long-lived, and it will go execute whatever we want. Here it shows source. And then the slightly controversial one, I think we've probably all seen some roles online like product engineers, and maybe people don't really grasp what a product engineer is. And I think we're kind of moving away from this point where software engineers can outcode an LLM. Does anyone here think you can now beat the frontier model? Good. So we all agree. So we shouldn't be writing code. We should have someone else writing the code. And we should instruct how it goes to build these systems. If you enjoy it, keep writing. So, the engineer of the future, what is that? It should be someone who understands technical capabilities. You should try and keep up with WWDC. You should know the limitations of a machine. You should be able to say, this is why we should be doing what. But within the PM, EM sphere, we should work closely with them, or we should become one and be able to execute all this together. Like, we need to have everything in English. We shouldn't be gatekeeping things in unreadable MD files that are riddled with code comments. When I was discussing with someone, they were like, code comments should be number one. They're self-explanatory. But if you want to go tell a PM or EM, sit down and flick through all of the code and read the comments and understand how it works. Instead, you have this long with a feature file, which explains exactly how it's doing. So, don't ship code, ship understanding, and keep producing your own code. There's going to be a demo, but if any of you would like to get on the beta, it's macOS 27 only, so it uses private cloud compute. But I'll give you a quick demo now. Try and reset that. I'll let you finish it. It's completely free, so don't worry. How am I doing the time of this? We're good? Nice. So, as I was slating boards, you realise boards are so superb. They really do this work. If anyone's used OpenAI Symphony, this is kind of their idea of how to work and plan through. So when you first open it up, you'll see your board or your chat window. Me personally, I love talking to the computer. I hate typing away nowadays. I stupidly built my own whisper flow using private cloud compute and do speech analyzer, just because they're 2 hours free. So I'll try and do something now.
Sounds like we could build some more features then. What did you have in mind as the most useful next thing?
So let's make a ticket on the board to delete the Android app.
Bubble app?
It's a live demo, so it might be a little bit buggy. Can you add a ticket to the board to delete the Android app? There we go. So you can see it's added a ticket to the board here, and the code-based memory is what I'm referring to, how you can cheaply pull context through. God, this mic is annoying. Okay, so here's the ticket. It's gone ahead. It's added some steps of how I should think you can go and do it, and then bang. I won't say bang. You can choose which repository it goes to, because I have here website and my app. So I can go ahead and start moving that into the planning phase. This will go take all of the code context and work out how it needs to execute it. This is like that. And I'm still talking to it. There you go. So it keeps track up in your notch of what's going on. It can run a few in parallel. But I think the real beauty for me is it was a pain in the ass. If anyone's used OpenRouter, you can kind of select what you use. So I've got Kimi, GLM, Claude, and then you can pick whatever model you want here. And you can choose a level of autonomy. So the 5 coders at the back who submitted your PRs, you didn't read a single comment, you can go ahead and you can just say YOLO, full auto, skip all the PRs and just get it done. So it's finished planning now, it's come up with this idea and it's like, okay, I'm happy, I'm going to delete the Android app, which should go. If I go move this into code generation, I'll go and execute it. If the human review is on, it will go and do that. It will tell you how much it's spent per task, and a really big thing for me as a personal coder is not blowing through the budget. And then, as I was saying, the backbone of the app, the specs are here, and I kind of hide the code away. I think some people might want to see it, but you can go in and see exactly how it works. You can talk to it, you can say, let's update this. It will open it in a work tree, have it all standalone, and try and make that happen so nothing's changed on the board. If you work in a small team, you can have a shared board. It's all on Supabase, it all works, all this. And it's got automatic detection for if you've got decent level of documentation in your app, or if it needs updating, you hit update. Private cloud compute goes ahead and starts trying to plan the changes, which is normally pretty quick. You can see tokens per second is absolutely rapid. Let's not go through that right now. So board, you've got your full Git, the fun stuff. You can see your pull requests. You can tell your colleagues leave me alone and stop leaving bad requests. You can merge without reading. You've got one annoying thing with like any can you call it any LLM was I want to be able to commit and change and pull myself. Not everyone wants to do it, but you have full control of it here. Automation, so a big question I ask is what if someone goes and commits code and it did not hit the spec? You're going to have some annoying engineer on the team who says, I'm not going to use this tool, I'm going to keep building my way, your specs will drift out. All you have to do is build in a hook that will go detect code changes and it should go and update itself if someone does this. Same for procedures, if you're continuously doing repetitive work, this will say, I see you're doing this all the time, let me automate this for you. And then you've got your settings, so you can run your website from here, this is pretty standard. One issue I was having on Claude is it continuously spins up new local servers. It never tries to shut them down. You check your task manager and you blow them through all of your RAM. So you can do that and close it. You can go run the iOS or Android app. So this has an iOS app as well. Dark mode, light mode at the head because that's all people ever care about nowadays. And I built in App Store Connect. So you can talk to Gemini or Grok and say, go and ship the app for me, bump me a version on and ship it. I don't care what happens. And it just does it because I'm lazy. I have too many small apps I've built which people want me to update, but I never do it. So yeah, it works all off private cloud compute, completely free. Whatever models you have, if you've got stuff installed, choose your voice model, have fun. I don't think Grok's the best. It doesn't really listen to me when I give it commands. Whereas Gemini's, I'll do whatever you want. I'll move it on the board, I'll complete work. And then this is a code-based memory I was discussing. This is how it keeps stuff cheap and context cheap. This really beautiful graph of the life. Some people care about this, I don't. And then you can change the spec style. So if it doesn't work for the way your team does and you want to adopt different files, this is how you should go ahead. You've got your teams branches. It's fairly boring. We don't need another piece of software in our life. This has all of your memory and token optimizations here. So I always fail of adding them to Codex and then they release a new model on Claude and I'm switching. So I basically just built this hub for myself which works perfectly for an Apple engineer, I think. Anyone got any questions? I know it's a bit of a dump. Ta-da.
How long did it take you to build it?
I've been working on it less than 30 days. Yeah, just in my spare time. It's vibe code. I've not read a single line of code that's been made here, and I've never built a Mac app before this. But I mean, the animations and everything, they're kind of smooth. It all seems to work very well.
Do you use preset to build preset?
That's the funny thing, it's the app that builds itself. So the annoying thing is when it's finished running and I do a new run, it builds a new app entirely instead of overwriting the current one open. It's a bit annoying, but yeah, I use preset to build preset. I don't use it for everything, so this one I built at the weekend, which my Whisper foil replacement, I didn't use it for this because it was just a 2-hour vibe coded project. I don't think you have to follow specs at everything if you're doing it yourself, but I think as a team you should be more cautious of what we are shipping. Product-wise. Yeah.
Do you think you'll roll it out here at Flow?
Flow probably won't adopt it. We have an engineering manager here, he'll probably give me the middle lane. The difficulty with Flow is you have a lot of security concerns, legal. I think we might adopt the idea more of spec-driven development. If you look at AWS Kiro, I think that's really good. Whether we adopt long-term specs might be a different issue. Yeah. I think one more question. Yeah?
Last one.
You said you haven't read the code, but do you know which language it's written in?
Hopefully split. I can tell you it's specific. So normally when I build a project from the start, I tell it exactly how I wanted to build it going forward. I have my own skills for this. So if I wanted to jump in the code, I know it would still be an MVVM because I'm loyal to MVVM. It's going to be in SwiftUI. It'll have all my little givens and nubbins, so I'll be happy. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in macOS. I have no idea how it works. Yeah. All good?
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you very much.